Adria Arjona, you can do no wrong in my eyes. Hey there, cinephiles. Today I'm reviewing Blink Twice. This is Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut, and it stars Naomi Ackie and Channing Tatum. And honestly, the rest of the cast is pretty stacked as well. I didn't know most of these people were in this cast, so I'm gonna keep it a surprise for you guys here too. And without trying to give away too much plot-wise, this basically plays as a thriller. But honestly, if you're going to see it and you don't know much about it, just try to keep an open mind. And speaking of which, I could see the reception of this film going two different ways. The first one, and more likely one in my eyes, this being a big hit once it hits a streaming service due to word of mouth, or just gets completely forgotten as the marketing isn't really driving many people to see this in theaters. And if it hits the wrong streaming service, well, it might just get buried. But honestly, I had a press screening for this, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even know it was coming out soon at all. But I could also easily see this being in the hidden gems section of Netflix and it being #1 by week's end of it debuting. On the streaming service, of course. Definitely not going to be #1 in the box office. And even though I say that as someone who didn't really love the movie, I still do think that this is going to hit for a lot of people that do end up seeing it. If you're seeing this review after you've watched the film, this isn't going to be a glowing review of the movie like you might hope. But then again, maybe I don't know how the audience is going to react to this film, and maybe I'm overselling it. But honestly, as a film overall, it's just a bunch of fine moments with some pizzazz that ultimately becomes this indulgent fantasy. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing, I'm just saying that's what this is. As a first feature film in the director's chair, I do think Zoe Kravitz has the promise to be something really great. I'm intrigued to see what she does next, even though her directing style may not be my cup of tea. But I do think she will hit with many people, even though she may not be for me. And that's okay, because as long as people are enjoying this film, I'm glad that they are. It's just for me, this doesn't quite hit as much as I would have liked. And it kind of does stem from the writing to the overall direction of the film, like the look and the vibe, and just certain choices that are put on screen. I don't necessarily love any of it, but I also don't necessarily hate any of it. It's overall a pretty okay movie that I would find pretty average, but again, I'm sure many people out there are going to enjoy it for its twists and turns. And also the cast is plenty charming enough that you'll gravitate towards at least one person in it. That person for me was Adria Arjona, of course. But yeah, Blink Twice is this movie with many twists and turns, and I didn't want to get into any specifics here because it is worth watching, especially with knowing as little as possible. But definitely try to go with a group of friends, because in this press screening I wasn't allowed to bring a guest, and I kind of wish I was, because it would have been, I don't know, it would have just had more of a fun energy. Not saying that the other critics in my guild aren't fun, you guys are great, but this is definitely the type of film that you just go out on a Friday or Saturday night and watch with a bunch of friends, even watching at home if it's streaming by then, and you just have a good little time. And there's nothing wrong with a good little time. I give Blink Twice a 2.5 out of 5 stars. I know for many people that may seem low, but honestly, that's not a bad score in my eyes. This is a perfectly adequate directorial debut that makes me intrigued enough in Zoe Kravitz directing in the future, but it's also not anything I'm going to necessarily write home about. But hey, if you are interested or even know what this movie is, I suggest giving it a watch because it's not bad. And with that being said, those are my thoughts on Blink Twice. Be sure to let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. As always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Be sure to stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.